All right, how elite is the Boise State defense right now? How elite will this thing remain? Just your thoughts, 208-424-9300. Call or text. Fat Guys Fresh Deli, Cloverdale Plumbing. We'll talk about that. You will hear from Andy Avalos, Dirk Cutter, and Spencer Danielson. All Prater took the podium today, and we thought had some pretty interesting information that we're going to have him share.
Yeah, Dirk Cutter talked about the red zone issues and how he blames himself for that. Very interesting commentary there. We're going to talk to Spencer Danielson and Andy Avalos about this defense. How elite is it? Right now, it's performing at a historically high level, and with 5 games in front of them that really could cement them as one of the best defenses in school history, and certainly one of the best statistically in all of college football this year. So looking forward to that conversation.
Big hour coming up. So yeah, hang with us. Soapbox today. I'm going to talk about, you know how sometimes in sports we say, hey, this person is killing their legacy. They're ruining their legacy. Most times I tell people to shut up. Like, no, it's tough to ruin a legacy. But in this case, I think I subscribe to it. I'm going to save that for my soapbox. Okay, Prater. Yards per game surrendered. Boise State is number 3 in the country. Passing yards per game surrendered. They're number 1 in the country. Rushing yards surrendered. They're number 22 in the country, but number 1 in the Mountain West. Points given up. They're number 19 in the country.
And don't forget on that one, they've given up 3 special teams touchdowns. That counts against the defense.
Which is so weird and weak. You'd think they'd change that, but you're right. Those are 3 teeters that this defense didn't give up. They are essentially responsible for. Like in a weird way, how the pitcher in baseball, if there's a couple dudes on the mound, when he leaves, the next guy comes in and gives him up, they go back to the original pitcher. Like that's not even in play with this. This defense really has nothing to do with that, but they're saying they're stuck with the points.
Yeah, I think if you think, though, I haven't done the math. I'm just kind of doing some thoughts in my head, but I would imagine that's less than 15 points a game. It drops from 18 to maybe 15, and Boise State's still 19th in the nation out of 131 teams in terms of scoring defense. They're a top 15 defense when it comes to that. And in many other categories, as you pointed out, they're number 1 in the country.
They've only given up 5 passing touchdowns, and they've collected 5 interceptions. So, I mean, look at that ratio. I mean, that's got to be the best in the country. Opposing quarterbacks only complete 48% of their passes against these guys.
Wow.
How hard that is to beat a team if you complete 48% of the passes, and that includes like some of these stats like whoa, this is a paper lion defense, Prater. They look good when they play a lousy team, they stink when they play a good team. That 48%, that factors in everything. The early season loss to Oregon State. So some of those you can say, yeah, this is an elite defense. Some you can say you could probably make the paper lion, the paper tiger, that argument as well. Where are you with this defense right now as far as where it is to an elite level?
It's exactly where it should be. And coming into this season, the expectations for this defense were high. And we'll go ahead and just look at the depth chart. I got some good news for you, and I got some bad news for you. Every starter on this depth chart for Boise State is a senior, except for the free safety and the cornerback in Kaniho and Robinson.
Wow.
There are, lots and lots and lots of seniors all over the place right now. So they should be good. They better be good. Across the board, Tarlis is like a 19th year player. Jackson Craven's been around forever. Scott Matlock seems like he's been, creating havoc since we were in grade school ball games. And Zeke Noah is, he had lunch with Abraham Lincoln a couple of weeks ago.
So. Yeah, seriously, I think LVE hosted him on his recruiting trip, and I don't think I'm joking about that.
But every one of those, we talk about, there's also the DJ Shrams, and even though he's a senior, he's exploded onto the scene. And Tyreek Jones is having a phenomenal season, is playing his best football he's ever played right now.
Yeah.
J.L. Skinner is a good football player. But he's a quiet football player on this defense. He doesn't stand out. I have no idea what his NFL draft stock is. I don't think he's improved his NFL draft stock. I don't think he's hurt his NFL draft stock. He's somewhat productive. He was kind of quiet in that Air Force game. But you know what? When J.L. Skinner is just kind of part of the group, despite how good he is, everybody else around him is great. I think Tyreek Jones is outplaying J.L. Skinner right now. I think that defensive line is just blood, guts, and glory, and they're just just dirty
Mm.
dogs out there doing dirty work and loving everything about it. And then the Canijos and Robinsons of the world and Biggers these guys are just flying around like crazy. I love this defense ball game.
Do they get after the passer enough? Well, I mean, they have 16 sacks. I guess that's enough. That's not going to lead the conference. They have several guys. All of a sudden, you had a pretty nice little sack race. I mean, Dimitri Washington is now the leading sacker on this football team. Good for Dimitri. He's got 4.5. George Darlis has 4, and Zeke Noah playing. What was it? Was it Will Backer and a middle linebacker has 3.5 sacks, and that's not the intention of how Boise State uses its middle backer. But Zeke Noah is just kind of having that type of year where it feels like he's in the right place at the right time. I mean, Zeke Noah not only is second on this team in sacks, he's tied for the lead on this team in interceptions. He's tied for the lead on this team in passes defensed. He's tied for the lead in this team in fumble recoveries, and he leads the team in forced fumbles. I mean, that's the season Zeke Elliott is having. He's leading this team in almost every single statistical category. DJ Schramm, he's stepped back a little bit, I've noticed the last couple weeks, but he's still leading the team in tackles, and he's third on the team, fourth on the team in tackles for loss. So he's still making plays. The bottom line, Prater, this is a no-name type of defense. Yep. There's not a star. There's not the All-American. There's not the first-round pick. Like you're saying, hey, Skinner, like we saw more of him last year when the defense wasn't this good. At least on paper, it wasn't.
Yep. Maybe
that has something to do with it. Now, JL is still second on this team in tackles.
Yep.
It's just a lot more quiet this year, isn't it?
It seems like it to me.
It does.
He was really quiet in the Air Force game. I don't even know what his numbers were in the Air Force game, but the only thing I remember him from the Air Force game is where he got crunched up in that pile and got hurt a little bit. He seems like he was okay after that. No problems there. He's still a very good football player. I just don't think he is the rock star of this team, and that's a compliment to this entire defense. We're going to hear from Spencer Danielson. We're going to hear from Andy Avalos about their defense and what they think about the elite. And the numbers and the potential moving forward are absolutely spectacular. Colorado State, go ahead and look at some of those offensive stats on that same stat sheet you're looking at their ball game. Colorado State is the worst offensive team in all of college football.
Are they really?
As a matter of fact, the bottom half of the scoring offense in the Mountain West stats, Wyoming, Nevada, Utah State, and Colorado State.
That's the rest of Boise State's schedule.
And then throw in a little BYU, which is having defensive problems of its own. Boise State could, on paper, Boise State will manhandle these next 5 opponents defensively. It depends on what Taylor Green and the offense can do, because that's still a work in progress. Over these next 5 games, I'm not sure Boise State's going to give up 70. Let's go 70 points in these next 5 games, max.
That's what you think they'll get. Okay, Prater's saying they give up 70. Is that 12, that 11 points a game, 14
like that,
points a game? That's nothing. Okay. Yeah. I almost can buy that. I think I will buy that, unless they're going to give up a lot more special teams touchdowns, and they have so far this year. Boise State's given up 129 points on the season, which is just ridiculously good. Only San Jose State has given up less, and they didn't play last week for obvious reasons there. If I were to tell you, listener, and maybe this is going to fire you up, that on paper, after 7 games, this is the best defense in school history, would you buy that? Would you buy the fact that I could tell you at the end of this season, whether you're playing in the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, the Potato Bowl, or the Cotton Bowl, that you're going to sit there and you're going to tell your friends, hey, this was one of the top 1 or 2 defenses you have ever seen on the blue? The numbers, as crazy as this sounds, would support that. But Prater, I got a feeling that if we went and polled Boise State fans outside the stadium before a game, or just at a random grocery store, and said, hey, I have a feeling that they wouldn't support that. They'd want to live in the past and say, oh, those defenses before. I don't think they would give this defense that type of respect.
Yeah, I would crunch some numbers and let's see what they can do over these last final games. But on paper, statistically, they could go down. Celebration-wise, great players-wise, excitement, big play-wise, we'll see how it all plays out. But certainly on paper that they're heading in that direction.
We're going to hear from Andy Avalos, Spencer Danielson, and Dirk Cutter, like right now. Prater, what's the one thing you would tell our listeners to pay attention for coming up?
Yeah, Dirk Cutter, what he's talking about in terms of the red zone.
Dirk Cutter, Andy Avalos, Spencer Danielson. Next, Idaho Sports Talk, Prater and the Ball Game.
From the Beacon